this is amazing. I was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostyn and Cam Waters.
It's motorsport, but not as you know it. Test yourself and your everyday road car. Safe, affordable, but most of all, fun. And all you need is your daily driver. Experience the thrill of a sprint day. Race against the clock at a hill climb. Or test your reflexes with an auto test. It takes just 3 simple steps to get started. Get on the start line. Search Motorsport Australia Daily Driver today.
Fishies in a row. They're here to make a point and to do Eddie proud. They fan out in the background as they come down to turn 1 for the first time. It all looks pretty good, 2 by 2. We'll stop the camera here. Oh, Eddie would be proud, mate. That was awesome run around turn 1. But, oi! Contact with the fishies.
He's made it through. It doesn't look like Angus has made it, but Thomas Freeman's made it through, and Angus is going to suffer the crowd coming through there to be able to turn his car around.
I love riding. It's a real social thing. There's a great bond between riders.
Every weekend I look forward to getting out there. It's a freedom like no other.
Riding to work is a great way to start the day.
Shannons insure all types of road bikes, not just classics. They offer features riders really want. It's why they're one of Australia's leading motorcycle insurance providers.
Whatever you ride, whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride.
ride with Shannons.
Call 134646 for a quote.
And they are off. It was a good start from Dylan to Bono. I think Phil Vella got a great start there in the background as well. You can see already cars going 5, 6 wide as they're trying to find any semblance of space. They come into T1. So far we've got 2, 3 wide as they snake down. It's Michael Conchar that's got around Dylan de Bono. A couple of cars going wide there. Was that a bit of contact in the back? Scott Pocock caught up in that, I think, there, buddy. But it's Michael Cuttajar's got past, so Dylan...
light is coming out and we're about to get going, and we have green lights and a very slow start for the 86s, but they are moving out there on the grid. It would be very interesting to see exactly which driver can capitalise on this first lap. Just go through the grid. Look like Jamie Christensen had a really awesome start to get ahead of Dylan de Bono, and Doug Gowage also jumped his teammate as well, so unfortunately Dylan stalled the car a little bit more than what he preferred. But
Weekend in, weekend out, Motorsport Australia officials are making waves. From waving flags, waving cars through pit lane, or responding to a wave for help. Wave hello to new lifelong friends. Who knows, you might just make waves around the world. Ride the first wave. Search Motorsport Australia officials today.
Still great classes of car, and if you are able to, if you're coming up the ranks on iRacing through the licenses, it's a fantastic sort of laneway into prototype driving, going from that GT3 up through the prototype classes. As the safety car pulls in, we get ready to go green as we come up towards the line. Edwards, Hasler, who's going to get the jump down to turn 1, or will any of the fishies, any of the piranhas in behind them, assault them down towards
green and they're
this
off.
first lap? Let's go here.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannons,
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover,
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be
Shannon's.
Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 134646 for a quote.
This is amazing. I was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostyn and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to snip on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Bruce Tanek and Jamie Dyson just absolutely drove away from us. Hayden trying to go around the outside. This is where he could have just sent it up the inside, but he hasn't implemented it, which is fair enough. It's very scary out there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if we get the good run. Dodds just absolute. These competitors did really nice move. Blake Delaney had to move out of the way.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are watching from. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sim Racing World TV. Tonight we bring you the IMSA Shadow Series, brought to you by Warren & Brown Tools, out at Daytona International Speedway for round number 6 of season 1 of 2024. I'm your commentator here tonight, Hamish Mono. Joining me, continuing the run of having a different commentator each week, it seems, is Connor Nixon here tonight. I'm not sure if Connor's quite back in the booth yet or not.
I'm here, mate.
Oh, very good, mate. Well, obviously, big race tonight out at Daytona. Obviously, very recently, the Daytona 24-hour happened back in January. Offered our drivers, we would say a little bit of practice, but if they were to race that one, they would be doing 24 hours around here. But it's a well-known circuit for this kind of driving, as well as obviously NASCAR and even IndyCar runs around here sometimes. But it's going to offer up somewhat of a challenge to those drivers who may not have had experience around here. But what it will also offer us is some quality battles between those who have got experience around here, because they'll know how to go wheel to wheel and battle it out with their competitors and get an advantage on those who maybe not be as competitive or have as much experience around this circuit as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a racetrack that's probably one of the most famous anywhere at the moment. Like you mentioned, the 24. We just had the Daytona 500. So yeah, it's these guys will have a lot of practice under their belt. I think it was only 2 months ago. I've got to remember this because I did this race. But yeah, it was about 2 months ago, and yeah, these guys will be ready to get on track and smash it. Not literally though.
Well, hopefully not. We have seen some real carnage come out at Daytona, thanks to some multi-class Magnus action happening here as well. Obviously, this circuit is pretty much on every single IMSA calendar for the whole year throughout iRacing, whether it is World Endurance or it's the actual IMSA series that runs as well. There is a lot on offer for drivers to get some experience around here. I mean, not even just that, even the GTs come racing around here quite often too. It's one of those circuits that is in the crown jewel of multi-class endurance racing. Now, obviously, only 45 minutes of racing here tonight, so we're not doing an uber long amount of time on track, but it's still going to give us a good insight to how these cars can handle this circuit. Obviously, no rain tonight either. We're waiting for rain for tomorrow. But just to kind of see where the strategies might lie out here tonight, because obviously racing a sprint around here compared to an endurance event, you might have some different strategies in play of how you actually want to race and attack this circuit.
Yeah, there'll be a couple of strategies going into the play. Basically, number one will be going flat out, and number two, for these GT3 cars, it will be a lot of fuel saving. A lot of these guys will bunch up as groups. So we've obviously seen the Sim Rigs cars, we've seen the Vermilion cars also bunch up and get that slipstream going, because you can save to a point, liters in a pit stop, and that gives you seconds on track. If you save a second in the pit stop, that's you as a driver, you almost double that just for covering, because saving a second is massive in racing. So it'll be interesting to see those groups work together and save fuel, because the pit stops are going to be a big thing out here. I don't think it's going to be a flat out race. I can't really see it being that. I think for the GTPs, it's a different story. We've seen the GTPs be very aggressive, getting around the traffic and getting around all the GT3s. So I can imagine the GTPs will put their foot down more, but they're always great to watch, and there's some really good drivers in there tonight as well.
I think what'll be interesting as well is obviously we have got a couple of drivers in the GTP class not used to racing around Daytona amongst the traffic. You see Josh King there just it's a bit of a rookie mistake out of turn one, isn't it? Just cutting it in a little bit too fine as practice comes to an end. Interesting to see, they've had 5 rounds to deal with the traffic so far, but Daytona's a whole other beast when it comes to traffic, because if you're not patient through the infield and wait for the bowl, we could see some really questionable moves happening on some GTD drivers out there. But you know, obviously the one thing we even said it last week, me and Toddy out at Watkins, was I hope they brought their bus pass, because the bus stop here is just as deadly as Watkins one is, if not worse, just based on how much faster you're actually going through there in the midst of a race. So there's going to be quite a fair bit on offer for us tonight. First 15 minutes of qualifying obviously go towards the GTD cars. Now, obviously, I know you've got a couple of your teammates out there in Lewis Greathead and Ben Faulkner. You know, as a teammate of those guys, how do you think that they might be prepping for this? Obviously, they're both, you know, Ben's in a championship battle with Andrew Dyson. How, you know, you reckon they're going to start working together a little bit more coming towards the end of the season, just to try and get Ben an advantage over Dyson, seeing as, well, Dyson's got 3 teammates out there. He's going to be able to work together with them. Like, where do you think that's going to come into play?
Well, it will be interesting to see this happen. Really, we've seen Lewis at Le Mans really helping out Ben, you know, recently joining the series, being very competitive as well. But I think Lewis will be more of a backup driver, to be honest, defending Ben or giving him that slipstream to save fuel, like I was mentioning. So I think there will be a point where Ben will be doing a lot of that. But like you said, I think, you know, with Ryan Jones and Dyson's other teammates, I think they'll be doing the same thing. I don't really see the SimRig guys really doing their own races. I'd say they're going to more help Dyson in those situations where they can. But obviously you don't want to crash into other drivers and make it really messy. We don't want to see that, obviously. But it will be, yeah, helping out the main teammate, really. That's normally the big thing. But I think the Vermeulen guys will bring something to the table. They've done a lot around here. They did really well in the Daytona. So, yeah, it should be quite good. But I did see the Simronic guys do really well as in the Australian split. Well, I'm pretty sure they were in there. It was a very big split, and yeah, there were some very big drivers in there. So I'd say there's a lot of guys that have practiced, like you mentioned. So yeah, it should be quite interesting with these two teams going for the battle. It's good to see a good battle, though, Hamish, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what's hindered, or that's kind of what hindered us in the past when doing some sports car racing here on SRW, especially when we had the GT Championship. We just, unfortunately, we didn't really get any battles happening, but it seems that this season especially, we're getting some absolutely phenomenal, you know, some absolutely phenomenal battles happening out on track in amongst both of the classes. But it's offering us, you know, kind of a fresh look of, well, what could we have on offer this year? Well, if we can contain and keep getting the numbers we're getting, if not even better, throughout the rest of this year, we're going to be on for a cracking set of 3 seasons to come throughout the rest of 2024. And, you know, if we can retain the drivers that are already there, plus, you know, try and get some new ones in who are just as quick and just as competitive, they're going to only offer us better racing and the opportunity to have some better calls as well, because, again, we're going to get more consistent battles happening. And they'll be pushing the limits, of course, Connor. And pushing the limits means that we could get a little bit more carnage, which, you know, the viewers know that I absolutely love a cheeky safety car period. Maybe we got our week's worth on Wednesday night at F3s, but I think, you know, even a circuit like this, it's a 50-50, isn't it, whether you're going to get safety cars. It's all going to be dependent on how the traffic is handled amongst each other and how the battles go as well. And if we see anyone going for some questionable moves, especially into the bus stop where we know that there can be carnage, and how...
shut up the inside there.
Yeah, up the inside. Daiso kind of just pulled out of it right at the last minute. Faulkner currently P1 ahead of Greathead in P2, but yeah, there's going to be so much on offer for us, I think, not only tonight, for the rest of this season as well. Obviously, Nords next week is going to be... it could be hell for leather for a lot of these drivers, ironically, at the Green Hell, but... I think, you know, tonight, especially Daytona, it's just a special place to have these cars go racing, isn't it? And it's so good when you've got it on a calendar like this. You get to Daytona and it just feels special, no matter what point it is in the season. Do I think personally it would work better as a final race of the season? Maybe not necessarily. I think even at this point, it's still going to offer us up a heap of possibilities of changes, but also a heap of possibilities of not groundwork, but kind of, lay of the land changes when it comes to championship, because anyone could get involved in an incident here, and that could really shift things for us in terms of battles in that championship, as I mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Nürburgring. That is one of the tracks that a lot of people love, but there's a lot of people that hate that track at the same time. Personally, I've been trying to learn it for the 24 coming up. So obviously, we talked about the 24 before. A lot of people will be practicing for that event, and then this event will be coming up. But I think a lot of guys will love this track. But looking at the standings, Ben Faulkner up the top, Greg Barber in second, and Lewis in third. Ryan Jones in fourth, so that's a bit of a mix-up seeing Chris Koss in the middle of the Vermilion boys at the moment, Hamish.
I know that he split your teammates at this point in time, Connor, but it's quite nice to see Greg back in form and back up to pace as well. I mean, we know how strong he's been in the past. He has got his teammate Adam Hughes back out there in a GT car running around with him here tonight, but it's such a good feeling to see.
For Greg too.
He's doing so well at the moment, and I reckon it's got to come down to his experience at this track. We mentioned it. Experience is absolute key, and he knows to keep it clean around here, and that's kind of the make or break of these races. Of when will drivers learn who make some consistent mistakes? Of hey, it's actually probably better that I keep this clean and consistent. We got 45 minutes of racing. Let's try and get to the last 5 minutes before we go for a win in the first 5. So Greg's very smart about that, and it'll be very interesting to see where these battles can come.
Yeah, Greg. I love Greg. He's such a nice little guy. I've talked to him before. I remember doing Silverstone in this league and and the SRW race, and I was behind him, and I was like, flashing my headlights once. And he just let me go. And I was like, oh, sweet. And he said, yeah, I just want to save fuel and be nice and finish out the round. Like, he's one of those drivers that you don't really see too often. We see a lot of fast drivers out there, but they're a bit arrogant, or they're a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? They're a type of driver that will just make a dive bomb and use another person as the brakes. And talking about brakes, Greg Barber right up to the top with a 44-1, taking out pole at the moment. Not too long away either, Hamish. But it's good to see Greg is such a smooth driver. But the pressure from Simrigs and or DPR, and Vermilion should be pretty interesting to see. Lewis in the purple sector as well, Faulkner as well.
Ben. So could be on here for Vermilion to try and crack that time of Greg Barber. Only halfway through their portion of the session though, Connor, and there's still plenty of time for these boys to improve and try and get above that time. Interestingly enough, 5 drivers are yet to set a lap time in this qualifying session, namely Chris Island, Andrew Dyson and Adam Hughes. Callan Hodgson has not been out on track, and Greg Leake still, he went for the interesting choice, and he even mentioned that he went for it because it was a fun choice of going for the Lambo for his one car change this season. And I think you can agree with me, probably not the recommended change, as Lewis has gone top of the timing tower, 144.035. But it is a fun choice nonetheless, and if he can pull something off in that, then we'll be singing his praises. It's expected for him to struggle in that car, but if he can tame the Raging Bull, then all to him in the end of the day, and hopefully he can try and find some more pace out of it and just learn more about this type of racing through it as well.
Yeah, I think the Lambo's a very interesting choice as a swap car, but I'd say the Lambo's pretty strong around here. We saw through the 24, it was a strong car. Chris Islands just went purple sector, and he's put a good lap into P4, but I think it's an interesting choice, but who knows, the Lambo could just whip pace out of its back end for Nürburgring, or the rounds up and coming for these guys. So I would keep a close eye on Greg here with the Lambo, but it looks like a DPR car's coming right up on him, trying to get that slipstream, and he goes low and gets around him. It's going to give him a nice little toe advantage there. But the Lambo's an interesting choice, Hamish, for sure.
Well, what I think maybe he's trying to do, maybe he's trying to learn like a lot of other drivers would have, by going through the motions of going through the car lists, seeing what you're comfortable with. We already saw him in the Merc, which is a front engine car. Now he's gone to the rear engine car of the Lambo. Maybe he's just trying to find his preferences. Instead of going in what is known as the most comfortable car in quotes, meaning obviously the Porsche or the Fez, he's gone for something that's a little bit different, a little bit challenging. Those challenges can actually make you a better driver because you learn to drive around the issues that may be associated with a car. And it's only then going to help him in the long run by giving him opportunities to outshine himself a little bit, and again, to learn from those possible mistakes that can be led to out of driving this car of choice. Now, just quickly here, we've got 5 minutes of this portion of the session left for these cars, just to catch up on some of our chats in the chat already. So Ray Douglas saying, hopefully there won't be any rain tonight, because then we won't have to put up with any rainbow colour cars all day. There's no rain tonight. I don't think we should have rain next week after tomorrow night, being that we're going to the Nordschleife. That'll be an absolute festival of interesting possibilities, but I don't think we do want to have that. Fritzy in there as well. Prediction for what time the safety car will come out. Ty Delaney, though, with an absolute brilliant comeback with that one. I think the safety car will lead us into T1 lap 0, then go into the lane. So phenomenal from the young guppy there. But no, I think, if we're going to get a safety car, maybe the halfway point of the race, people start getting into their battles. If it's not going to be early, where they're kind of out of rhythm and they're trying to push a little bit too hard, then maybe to the midpoint or even just before the end, just, as the drivers are just starting to get back to grips after coming out of the pits and getting, the tyres warmed up and stuff like that. So, but, anything could happen at this point. Dyson has gone P2, Connor, with a 144.087. Greathead, though, the only driver yet to go into the 43s, which is an absolutely phenomenal effort from him around here. Leakey finally gets a time on the board, and the man who has not come out on track yet, Callum Hodgson, is the only one to not set a time to this point.
I was going to say, just a bit of an out there thing. I haven't seen Dodds at all. So has Dodds pulled out of the championship, or has he gotten a bit ill, I wonder?
He's got footy commitments, apparently. He had it last week and this week as well. So he's not here tonight. Hopefully he can come back next week for the Nordschleife, or possibly even for the final 2 rounds after that as well. So 3 minutes left in the session. You'd have to argue if anyone's out on track. They're only probably going to get about 3 more laps in if they have started them at this point. It is Vermilion Motorsports, Lewis Greathead in P1 at this stage. Only driver to get into the 143s. Can anyone match him? Could it be Dyson, Barber, possibly even his teammate Faulkner? Or could a Chris Island or an Adam Hughes really start to come up the rankings as well? Top 7 cars only spread by 3 teams at this point, being Vermilion Motorsport, DPR and CXR as well. So there's an opportunity, though, for another team to break in. Obviously, Benjamin Brook out there for Frog Leap Juice Racing, and even some of the other blokes who are racing on their own without teammates as well. So, but anything can really happen around here, Connor. We know this, and it's all going to come down to how willing you are to push the envelope, but how strategic you are where you put the stamp on that envelope as well.
Yeah, I think Hughesy's probably got something in the bag. He just got some new pedals though, so he is getting used to how the pedals move. So it'll be interesting to see how Hughesy goes in the race than anything. But I think it's going to be, I think for a qualifying lap, you just got to put everything on the line. If you get an off track through the bus stop, just go again. I mean, these guys have 2 minutes, so Lewis can go again. I know Ben's on his out lap. Who else is there? Looks like Dyson's on an out lap as well, so Dyson could probably go for another really banging lap time, which I think he's on a lap now. So I think there's a lot of possibilities that we see Chris Island as well. So I don't think we can really say much yet, but I'd say probably Dyson and Ben can probably improve. Those 2 drivers are very capable, driven against them, both of them, and yeah, they're very close in pace. I know, Dyson will probably disagree and Ben will probably disagree, but yeah, they're very similar how their times come out, but their driving style is completely different. So I think Daytona is going to be a very interesting track, really, for these guys, because there's not much thing you can do that's different. I know you can go a little bit more on that curb there, but the lines are a little bit different around here, but you kind of got to be the same around here. So it'll be interesting to see how the race goes than anything. That's what I'm looking forward to, because how it stands at the moment, we've already talked about Greg Barber picking up some pace, and he's in P3. So he's in between Ben and Dyson. So the interesting thing will be, does Ben just shoot it up the inside and try and get onto the back of Dyson? Then it's a Vermilion sandwich. That's the big question, in my opinion.
Well, what'll be interesting is if they finish how they currently stand, Dyson will line up directly ahead of Ben on the start, on the start of this race. So you know, it's whether Ben wants to try and, you know, shoot the half, let Greg go past him off the start and then kind of put it on the inside of Greg, or just settle down a little bit early on in the race. You know, maybe just settling down, letting Lewis slow Daiso up a little bit and use the attack that Barber will put on Dyson to your advantage as well. That could really be a benefit for him too. Their 15 minutes is up though. Dyson is bringing it in. He is unable to finish his lap, and the GTPs will now start to come out onto the grid. Interestingly enough, I find this quite interesting actually, Connor. I don't know about you, but there's only one Porsche out there. And I know that the GTPs for Daytona, the Porsche was the strongest car because of the infield advantage you get. And you could just make up for the straight with your setup. Where a lot of drivers have gone for kind of last year's preferred car, the Cadillac, seeing as it's the fastest down the straight. So quite an interesting tactic from quite a few drivers. I don't really know of any car changes to this point, but yeah, I would have thought possibly there would have at least been one or two that might have gone to the Porsche, especially with Nürburgring next week, and we know how good the Porsche is in the corners and kind of being able to handle those corners. Although maybe some drivers are waiting for next week to make that car change as well.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of these guys, you know, a lot of them are putting the Acura in the Cadillac because it's just, you know, it's such a stable car. I know the Acura is a bit more difficult to drive compared to the Cadillac, but the Cadillac's got some really good straight line. But I think the straight line's really going to help the Cadillacs this week. I think that would actually be probably, in my eyes, probably be a better thing, because I know with the GTs you're trying to take off as much wing as you can and still have it decently have a little bit of grip in the corners. So yeah, I think the Cadillac's not a bad choice, but like you said about the Porsche, I think the Porsche is a really good option, but we might see that next week. Should be interesting.
Yeah, like I'm not taking anything away from the Cadillac. I knew coming into the 24-hour, for example, it was going to be one or the other, pretty much, of like, well, do you want to have the advantage down the straight, or do you want to have the advantage on the infield? And I guess this only being a sprint race compared to a 24-hour race, it probably not safer, but a lot easier to go for the more aggressive option of being faster around the bowl section and down the back straight than it is on the infield, where when you're racing for 24 hours, you actually would rather have something that's stable for 24 hours on the infield, where you know there can be incidents that happen. So maybe that's some of their reasoning as well. I don't know. It's quite interesting. Hopefully, in later seasons throughout this year, we can actually have a lot more drivers out there in not only GTP, but also GTD. Fingers crossed, maybe even enough to get an amateur class and GTD happening. But so we may actually see a lot more different car choices. Obviously, we know the Lambo will be coming in eventually for GTP into iRacing. But we've got all four of the car choices out there, predominantly Cadillac, but only one Porsche, as I mentioned, and then you know, three or four Acuras. So it's an interesting spread for sure. But I guess, you know, if you were racing in this one, you know, in how the race is set up tonight compared to the 24-hour, would you have gone for the Porsche in the 24-hour and also tonight? Or do you think you may have gone for the Cadillac on both, or one or the other? Like, where do you think your allegiances would have stood, making the choice of which car to run out there?
I think it would have been more Cadillac, to be honest. That's probably what I would have leaned on more. Just for that straight line, I just think if you've got that straight line, the track's only, you know, I think it's 80 or 90% straight, then you've got a couple of corners in between. So I think the Cadillacs, when they do pull away just that tiny little bit, or a bit of a wiggle there from a fishy car, but I think if you pull away that second of a margin, you know, you're in for a chance of pulling away, and that will be about it. Michael Whiting on top of the standings as well, so he's got some pace in that GDP, and yeah, I probably would have went Cadillac, ripped the wing off and prayed that it would grip. But yeah, I think it's the choice of the car tonight, and yeah, Whiting going to the top. So first sight, it's looking pretty promising for the Cadillac, and yeah, we've seen him on the outfield now. Sorry, outfield? I don't think that's right. My apologies.
I don't know. I just call it the bowl, because that's what the Americans like to call it whenever you're in a session.
The bowl. That's an interesting one.
Wait for the bowl. But No, I guess it's infield and oval section. I don't know.
I think it's. I'd say it's probably oval. I was saying oval last week when I was commentating in Europe, so I'm going to say it's oval. But Grotch is up the top as well, so the Flogleet driver putting some good times in. But yeah, I think Fishy have got something on the table as well. I think that's a team that we've seen in the GDPs a lot and in LMP1 in the past. I'd say they've got a lot of data from a lot of tracks. Obviously, Frogleet, we've seen them being very competitive this last, couple of seasons. It's been good to see them do really well. I know Grotch does a lot of officials and he does quite well in them as well. So he's got some high I rating as well. So yeah, I mean, for the GDPs, I think there's a lot into it. I think it's one of those things where you can't just go, I'm going to pick one car and that's going to be it. Like you said, the Porsche's probably going to be strong next week compared to the Cadillac. But at Nürburgring, I've seen a lot with GT3s where they just rip the wing off. So, I don't know. There's a lot to it, Hamish.
I was quite disappointed there, just quickly off topic. Ty Delaney was on for an absolute ripper of a lap, and I reckon he got an off track through the bus stop, and he just pulled it up and then had to, end the lap for him. But he could have been on for something phenomenal there off the back of it. We got Dougie Gowans out there at the moment, going from young to old here to the grandpa in the Acura, one of 3 out on track. I mean, they're all kind of, there's a pretty even spread actually, no matter what we've said about the Caddy being possibly the strongest choice, or even the Porsche being the strongest choice, and the Acura's out there too, although no BMW out there tonight. Troy Maguire unable to make the session, being the one BMW driver we've seen previously. There's a good spread though between them. Like there's not really one that is more dominant than the others, and I think what that comes down to is what car are people comfortable in around this track. At the end of the day, it doesn't even necessarily what we say matters in terms of, well, the Porsche's better or the Cadillac's better or the Acura is good. At the end of the day, it's what the driver's actually comfortable in as well. And that's sometimes one thing that people can forget is, what are you comfortable in? Are you comfortable in the Cadillac and having the stronger pace around the straight, or would you be more comfortable having the strengths lie on the infield? And I guess that's where the balancing act comes in of your car choice. Being you only get one change this season, big off though for Dougie Gowans in the qualifying run. What does that come down to, Connor? I mean, sometimes it's better to go for the more meta choice, but other times it's better to go for the car that you yourself are actually just comfortable driving in, and you'll have a more enjoyable time. And more enjoyment sometimes means you get more pace out of the car.
Well, yeah, I think there's a bit of an insight thing where, teams will need to pick a car. I know with the Vermeulen guys, I'm just going off experience. The boys were all sitting there and we're all going, okay, what's the fastest car and what's the most comfortable car? And the boys were like, okay, we could probably get the Audi. That was probably the fastest at the time when the choice came around. So Jamie Christensen, highly good driver. He was like, go the Audi, game over. And then Ben was like, no, I'm going to go the Porsche because I think it's the most stable, but it's still got pace in it around tracks. So I think a lot of teams will be like that. So I think it's, like you said, it's being comfortable, but still being fast at the same time. You can't really go, okay, I'm going to go the Ford GT as the GT3. It's not possible, but, you need that pace. But yeah, being comfortable is definitely a big thing. So yeah, it's a very good point, Hamish. I like that.
We're just on board here with Brandon Grotch, just checking out the absolute amounts, the extreme amount of gyro you can get off this gyro cam in this car. This is probably one of the only tracks that actually use the gyro cam, but it's just because it actually gives you an idea of how much banking there is around here, and the change of undulation as well, which is obviously good for that to happen, but. Yeah, I think this circuit, we mentioned it, it's going to offer up a heap of challenges. We got about 5 minutes left of qualifying. I know we don't have the overlays up at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. Just a quick little technical difficulty that I am fixing as we speak. So we will get those times back up for you. But Grotch still in pole. Hasler has gone P2 at this stage in time. And then, of course, Simpson to Edwards to Whiting to Crum to Gowans to Anderson. That's the 8. Jamie Davis, Ty Delaney, Keegan Colwell, Josh King unable to set a lap time just yet in qualifying.
Yeah, and I'm just going to extend that point a little bit more about the GDPs, because you did say about the Porsche. Redline really loved that Porsche I saw in last week when I was commentating. They really love that car, so I think the Porsche could be a strong car, like you were mentioning. And we're just watching Brendan Grotch go around at the moment, smashing it at the moment. Good lap times, good speed. We see around the corner he's carrying a lot of pace, and now into the banking. Going to finish the lap here, and I would say he's on a pretty good one at the moment, having not those sectors, but like Mr. Hamish said, he is fixing them.
We've got it back now. He's on
Lovely.
3 purples in the first 3 sectors, and then it's a green in the 4th. Goes green in the 5th as well. This will be good enough for Pole, I reckon. It is indeed. Hasler had just pipped him the lap prior, but it was a 31.5 for him, pipping his teammate by around about 0.4 of a second there. So barely anything in it between the two Froggies up the front at this stage, and they look to hop their way into the front row of the grid once again. 4.5 minutes left in qualifying for us here, Connor. Simpson is out on track once again, so he'll hope to try and improve his time. We've got Edwards out there for CXR in the Porsche as well. Michael Whiting, Luke Crum, the most famous man in the GR86 field, is still rolling around. We know that he's already been in the comments.
Why is he famous?
Oh yeah, he is. He's the most famous man in the real life GR86 field. He has even got his own fan club as a mechanic, a former mechanic for the Aussie Driver Search team. He has got his own fan club called the Crumb Dog Millionaires, who I'm a proud member of. And he got yelled at from the above pits sort of bar area at Bathurst by his fans whilst he was walking the field of 8.6s out to go into the grid. So, yeah, he'll hate that I've said that as well. Absolutely despise him for it. But yeah, so he loves a bit of this racing as well. I'm sure he'll be there tomorrow night for the rain. He was hoping for rain here tonight. Does fairly...
Cool.
Oh, it would have. It would have. I think... I don't know how well rain's actually going to go here, because I know that NASCAR don't run races in the rain, and being that we're on the circuit with the bowl, would it have been safe to go racing around here in the rain? Possibly not.
It would have been safe. iRacing have said that all their tracks are all good. Nothing scary will happen. So they've done a lot of testing around here, and iRacing have confirmed all the tracks are good. So yeah, it would have been nice to see rain. I've seen the transition from dry to wet, so I reckon that would be something cool to do for Nürburgring, but that would be very scary, going around 28 k's worth of a track and raining halfway and going, oh bugger.
Yeah, I don't know how well that's going to work for if we get rain there, half the track's wet, half the track's dry. How are we meant to do that? Being that you can't really race in the dry with the wets, and it's impossible to race in the wets with the dries on. But we'll get an example tomorrow night of dry to wet for the IMSA session tomorrow night out at Le Mans. 9:40 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time will be when the IMSA action happens tomorrow night. It will happen at the end of our first 2 events tomorrow night. A GR86s around Oran Park, which is meant to be full wet. So you have Hasler going off here in the infield as well. And then as well, the debut of the Super Formula Lights, which will be taken over for the F3s come Season 2 of SRW this year. We will be upgrading to the newest version of the Formula 3, being the SF24. So we'll get a preview of them out at Phillip Island in the wet as well. So it's going to be a big night of racing. We will have all the info up at the end of qualifying, so you know when it's all going to be happening tomorrow night. If you want to get in, all you got to be is a paid SRW member, and you can come and race with us tomorrow night across all 3 races. They've been set up, Connor. So then when one ends, you can go across to the next one and have a crack in a different type of car at a different track as well. So plenty of opportunity for drivers to get some experience in the rain tomorrow night, and also gives us an opportunity to test it out, but also bring some action to the people at home if they want to try and enjoy themselves and check out drivers struggling in really, really wet conditions. Michael Whiting, though, this could be an absolute blinder of a lap. 2 purple sectors in Sector 2 and Sector 3, 2 greens in Sector 1 and Sector 4. This could be a pole lap from the Fishy driver here, and there could be a piranha on the front row come the end of qualifying. Not long to go, though. This will be possibly his last attempt at a lap. What's it going to be when he crosses the line? Is it good enough for pole? It's not. It's only good enough for
Wow.
P5. So that just shows you how quick the top 4 have been.
Oh, Edwards just went.
He has.
He can go again if he wants to. No, he's going to park it up. But yeah, I thought Whiting really had that. Apologies there, because I saw purple, and a bunch of greens. But yeah, he must have lost a little time in a certain sector, and that would have been it. But yeah, Edwards straight on top, and I don't even think we covered it. But you remember when we saw Ben and Dyson with their laps? It actually looks like Ben went second there, so we didn't even cover that. But yeah, I mean, awesome field at the moment. Edwards on top, Grotch, Hasler. I mean, good to see Edwards back in form as well.
Yeah, it is, and really bringing the fight to those bunch of Cadillacs, as we mentioned. Oh, that's a big slide from Hasler, though, through the... he must have left his bus pass in the pits for this lap. I have also just got confirmation in the chat from the bosses and the higher-ups. You don't need to be a paid member of SRW. You just need to be a part of the SRW community, which I think just means you just need to be in the Discord, and then you get access. So... yeah, so if you've been thinking about coming into SRW and you want to have a crack, there's your opportunity to do so. You know, you just come in, have a race with us, see how you feel, see if you enjoy it or not, and yeah, just it gives us an opportunity, gives the drivers an opportunity, and all in all, it should be a good night tomorrow night for us out at those 3 incredible tracks with some possibly incredible conditions as well. So, but hopefully there isn't a monsoon that hits 3 places in the world all at once.
I was going to say that new Formula 3 looks good. I was talking to Gianni Luzzu, and he's been loving that car. So, I think that Formula 3 is going to be very popular on the calendar of SRW. So it should be good.
Yeah, I think. I mean, we've been overdue for an upgrade for a while. I was trying to sell the upgrade to the SF23 for this season, but no one wanted to go for it, and then ironically the light comes out and they're like, all right, we'll do that. It doesn't have push to pass. It's basically a straight swap, and you know, that's all right though, because at least we now get a modern car.
Doesn't the new Formula 3 have DRS like the real life one?
It does, but it doesn't have push to pass.
Okay,
so
that's interesting then. If you did a Phillip Island round for a proper round, that would be very interesting to see F3s at turn 1. Drag racing, really, that'd be awesome to watch as a commentator.
Oh, I am looking forward to it tomorrow for Phillip Island, even though it's going to be in the wet. It's going to be very interesting. We're really throwing them in at the deep end with this rain, and you know what? That's how you sometimes have to learn. It's just by getting chucked in right at the deep end, right in the dying embers. So as the cars will start to grid up, we will quickly show you the information that we were just mentioning. So this is all that is happening tomorrow night. First race, 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, Oran Park. 20 minutes of qualifying, and then 2 20-minute races in the 8.6s in full wet conditions. Then we go down to Phillip Island at 8:35 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. 20 minutes of qualifying, 40-minute race for the Super Formula Lights, and then we go down to Le Mans, 9:40 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. 15 minutes of quali, 45 minutes of race in changing conditions throughout that one there. But we will quickly run through our starting grid here tonight for Daytona. Round number 6 of the Warren & Brown Tools IMSA Shadow Series, and the field is going to be led by Jake Edwards of CXR in P number 1, ahead of Brandon Grotch in P2 for Frog Leap Juice Racing. It's then Scotty Hasler lining up in behind in P3. Alongside will be Ty Delaney, the young guppy out of Fishy Motorsports, out of P4. It's then Michael Whiting out of P5 ahead of his teammate Adam Simpson in P6. With Luke Crum and Dougie Gowans making up the 4th row of the grid in behind. It's then Brad Anderson and Jamie Davis out of P9 and P10. Back to Josh King and Keegan Caldwell in behind them. We'll then move down to our GTD field. Lewis Greathead will start out on pole position for a Vermilion Motorsports front row of the grid. For P13 and P14 on the road. Andrew Dyson will then line up in behind alongside Greg Barber of CXR. It's then Chris Island in P17 with Adam Hughes alongside him in P18 with Ryan Jones and Benjamin Brook. Wow, I'm losing all my words tonight. Benjamin Brook making up the top 20. It's then Mark Cochran out of P21 ahead of Greggy Johnson out of P22 with Greg Leake and Callan Hodgson in behind. Big thank you goes out to our race controllers here tonight as well. Thomas Freeman. And I think Tyson is actually in there in race control here tonight. I'm not 100% sure on it, but we're going to be on for a great race here tonight, Connor. Daytona plus multi-class sports car racing. What more could you want on a Friday night? You know, it's going to be absolutely epic.
I could think of like some, you know, ribs or brisket or something, bit of food on the side. But yeah, no, it's awesome night here. Should be good fun. Edwards on front row though. I wonder if he'll just pull away with that Porsche. He was saying about the infield. If he can get that turn one nailed, then just pulling that infield, maybe he just pulls away with it straight away. But talking about the GD and about the GDDs, oh my God, I'm losing all my words as well. So thanks, Hamish, for that.
That's all right.
But I think from the GDDs, it will be more of fuel saving, sitting there, saving some fuel. Then the pit stops will come around, and I think that will be the big judge. So I don't think there'll nothing really major happen in the GDDs, but for the GDPs, I reckon it's something to really watch for this race, ladies and gentlemen. But let's go green, shall we, Hamish?
Yeah, mate. Lights are coming up, so we're going to get ready to go running. Who's going to get the jump, though? And what kind of mindsets are going to be in the drivers' heads here tonight going forward? Safety cars pulled away. They will now drag the GTPs away with them. Bit of a gap will be left back to the GTDs for their start. Couple of quick chats before we get to green. Aaron Obersteller saying, hey, team. Choppy in there saying deep end, it's new driver at Bathurst in the wet in VR. Oh, that is deep end for sure. John Benici saying must be something in the water. Can't speak tonight. Yeah, I think so. Choppy then saying some Jack Daniels. Good way to watch Crummy. And then Obersteller as well saying get good, Connor. Words are hard. Hey, words are very hard.
Yeah.
They are incredibly hard.
The reason he's saying that's my commentator from 2 seasons ago, so he knows me ins and outs. So thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it. We'll have to play PUBG later. But anyway, we're going to go green for this. Hamish, you can call this, mate, because it is your league and your commentary box, not mine.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Normally I've got stains and gum under the desk, but no, it's your box, mate, so go for it.
No worries, mate. So it's going to be all up, though, to the leader, Mr. Jake Edwards, of when he wants to go here tonight. Grotch will line up alongside him. It's going to be Acura versus Porsche off the line. There's then a Cadillac in there as well. Wait for the lights.
Green.
The green light is go. Let's go racing round Daytona. It was a great start there from Grotchi off the start line. Edwards is just going to line in behind him here. A couple of drivers round the outside as we come through for the very first time into turn number 1. They're looking pretty tidy at this stage. Oh, a bit of a blink there from one of the cars in the background. They're not looking too heinous at this moment. Let's just quickly see where the GTDs are. I think Dougie Gowns has just dropped some spots as well. They're coming up towards the start-finish line too, so we'll get our GTD start underway. Greathead will have the control of the field to his teammate Ben Faulkner alongside him here, and he has gone quite early comparatively to the start line, so we'll see what their run is down towards turn number 1 as well, and how well they can control themselves into turn 1. So both fields relatively about the same size here tonight. Only one car has not made the start. That was Keegan Caldwell. Oh, they have two.
3 wide into turn 1. The Vermilion boys are going to lead down to turn 2 with a solid gap behind them from the DPR guys. So this is an interesting game here. Does Lewis stay up front and let Ben save fuel side by side with the Juice car and the DPR car? And drag racing it out of turn 3, and what a great little start there from start there, Hamish. It wasn't too drama, I guess a lot of drama, but it's a good start for these boys.
Yeah,
quite happy with that.
Not too much carnage on offer at this stage. The GTBs have survived the bus stop as it seemed. Only one of them has dropped down the order. That was Luke Crum off the start. I believe he's been involved in an off-track. We'll quickly get our replay happening for everyone at home so we can see how this has happened. So it was in towards the quite difficult sometimes turn number 5, and you see it there, he just rotated it around. It's very tough to get the car lined up through there nice and stable, and I think that's also one of the bonuses or one of the benefits of having the Porsche, as we mentioned on the infield, is it is just so stable through here. As the Porsche is now back up to the lead of Jake Edwards, the stability is what can make or break your race. And I think having the stability through here is what could actually make or break Edwards' race in this one here tonight, as well as if he can keep it consistent as possible throughout proceedings here tonight.
I was going to say, keep an eye on Ty Delaney. He's right behind Grotch at the moment. He's got a good slipstream here. Does he fire it up the inside in the bus stop, or does he wait? And I think he might wait. He's not really there. So Ty Delaney's going to sit there. But I think this is the big thing we need to watch at the moment. Ty just sitting there at the moment. We know he's done the Pro Series for the qualifying, so he's a good driver, Hamish. Oh, that might be a slowdown. Is it? No. It looked like it. I was like, oh, that's a bit close, Ty. But he's done well there. But the young fellow has been doing done a lot of racing recently. I've seen him in the 86s, obviously the Logitech stuff. He's really put it in his second gear for the sim racing. I was talking to his dad about his racing. He's doing mighty good.
Yeah, he's doing incredibly big efforts recently. Although in this series especially, and I mentioned it the previous couple of weeks, is been having some real character building races about him where he's just getting caught in some avoidable incidents that he wouldn't necessarily need to be involved in. But he's learning from those, and that's what's important. If you can learn from those incidents, hence why we call them character building, because it's building up his character as a race driver, and it's building up his prowess as a race driver as well, and that's only giving him more and more experience. You know, he's got 10 years on me to be able to get experience under his belt before he's my age. So it's like, you know, he's already steps ahead at this point in time, and imagine how good he's going to be when he does get to my age, into his mid-20s, you know, into what could be his prime. And, you know, he's already up there fighting with the greats in the current, you know, moment in time that we are. So he can only get better from this point, I think. You know, it's barring, you know, something happening, and touch wood, nothing ever happens. It's, you know...
Hang on, touch wood.
Yeah, touch wood. I'm touching my side table that's underneath my desk. But no, you know, and I think it's so interesting to see what his development could be going forward, but also how he can progress going forward as well. You know, he realistically, he should be someone we see on our screens for as long as iRacing is around in future, you know, upwards of the next 20 to even 40 years if he was to compete where his dad is at the moment in vets in future as well. So there's going to be a long time coming, and a long time for Delaney to get up there as well.
God, don't scare the kid. He'll run away before we even see him in 2 years. But yeah, I think for Ty at the moment, it's just going to be a learning phase. Like, we could see, was that Greg Leake around in the Lambo, turn 2?
I think it might have been. It was indeed.
Yep.
So we'll get a bit of a replay happening.
Hang on, let's just watch him. Oh, I was going to say, watch him spin around. So here's the replay. No, we're going onto the oval.
Yeah, so this is actually a separate incident that's happened to him. Oh, and again, it's that rear-engined Lambo doing its rear-engined Lambo things.
Lambo things.
It is. It's just Lambo things. And Greg Barber was also involved in something as well, coming through turn 1. What's happened to him here? Coming up towards turn 2. Oh, he's just done it up the inside of Dyson, and he was lucky not to take him out there.
Great new livery, by the way, for the crisscross guys. Good to see we've got something new. But there's Greg Leake. So he spun. He's hit the brakes. Then the car's just spun again. So he hasn't done that too well, but he's going to try and get back on the track. So I'd say he's plucked reverse and got back onto the track. But yeah, unfortunate for Greg Leake there. But yeah, nice paint for crisscross. Oh, he's went wide, but he's. I thought he was going to nip the tyre barrier there. Battle for GDP, and we're sitting on board with Greg Barber that we saw that little spin there from before. Unfortunately having that. And here's Ty. We were talking about him before. I think he's had enough, I guess, blowing up his head. And maybe he's going to have a head the size of Mars next. But yeah, Ty doing well. We've got to give him a comment every now and then. But Grotch taking the lead. Jake Edwards won't be too happy with that, but Ty's going to have to try and keep on the back of these two, because if he's out of that toe, he's going to be on for a podium, but that's not very ideal at all. But Grotch is going to just take the lead. But it looks like you were saying about the Porsche having more grip in the inside, in the infield. And I think you're right, because we saw Grotch there just understeer that whole way out from the start of the corner all the way to the end of it. So Grotch still struggling with those cold tyres, and Edwards is hunting him down at the moment and doing quite well at it.
Yeah, he's just trying to stick with him, isn't he? And I was going to mention before, it won't be long until we're at the traffic of trying to, you know, get around these guys. You see them both there, two different ideals or two different mindsets trying to get around the DPR car there as they come into the bus stop. But, you know, the traffic's going to play a big part in this race of when do you get stuck behind the traffic and when do you go for a move around them as well. I would suspect that you would at least have the same mindset as me of, if you're on the infield, you'll wait until after the kink to go for a move, because there's been so many incidents that have happened at the kink where someone, a GTP or an LMP2's tried to make it too wide, and it just ends in tears for everyone.
Around the outside of Chris Cox's car, both of them actually. Edwards, Edwards running wide from his teammate. I think that's Husey, actually. Yeah, that was Husey. So up the inside, Grotch goes. But I think it's, you've got to pass in the infield or you just lose too much time. Like, you seriously do. Like, when I did the Daytona 24 in the LMP2, it was like, if you just wait, you know, for 2 seconds, you've probably lost 4 seconds from the girl behind. It's such a, I was just seeing Edwards getting closer and closer. I thought he was going to lock up there. But I think it's waiting that time. It's just going to kill you. I think Ty's actually going around of a teammate. Yeah, he's indeed. He is. I think that's
Whiting ahead of him now.
So,
what's happened? I don't know. I think maybe he was just caught up in the wrong lane and Whiting's just then gone around him at some point. Maybe he called him around. I'm not sure. But I guess it's, you know, we saw Edwards. He got the move done before the kink. And my mindset is we saw Ty wait for it. My mindset is that, especially in a longer race, if you're not going to get it done before the kink, just wait until the braking point of the next corner, because you're going to get them under brakes. You're going to be carrying a lot more speed, but you're actually going to be able to go deeper under brakes. As you can see, Edwards wants to go down the inside of Grotch here. I reckon Grotch...
slow down.
Yep, that has copped it to him. And unfortunately, he went for a little bit too much through the bus stop.
That's almost game over for Grotch. He's out of the slipstream now. Edwards could pull away here. I think that if Edwards can pull away, that's game over for Grotch, because he won't be able to get back into it. But I think Grotch has just got enough to keep in it. He's understeered again. That Acura looking understeery as at the moment, just getting no front end grip at all. Yeah, so he's completely out of it. So Grotch is gonna have to keep back in it. But I guess we haven't checked into the GT3s for a bit. Maybe we should skip our way down there. Maybe.
Yeah, we got Great Head still leading Faulkner here. P1 and 2. We already had a comment from Aaron Obersteller saying looks like Faulkner is saving. So possibly, yeah, just sitting in behind here, just trying to save some fuel. Saw Dougie Gowns just sneak on in there in front of him at the kink. Again, I wouldn't have done it, but Dougie at least made it work. He did it safely, to be fair. He chucked it up the inside and got it done quickly. Dyson just trying to chase these guys down at the moment in time. Hughesy's a little bit further back as well. We haven't really got many big battles happening in amongst the GTD field. You know, but people always say, well, the short gap between P1 and 2 is quite short, but let's be honest, and you can say this as well, Connor, they're not going to battle. Like, they're not going to battle for position. Yeah. They're going to work together to build the gap, and then Greathead will probably give the position to Faulkner at the end of the race. Like, they're not going to battle, so it's a tough one. And I think without a safety car at this point, the field's only going to continue to spread, but that's the way of Daytona. That's why Daytona, majority of the time, works better with endurance racing, which I think Grotch has actually just copped another slowdown because he's actually lost out here to Whiting as well, and Delaney. Hasler's also dropped spots too. Yep. So I reckon that Acura's got a really understeery setup, and I reckon they've picked the wrong setup, unfortunately, because I know that Acura is not an understeery car. I know that for a fact because, you know, I've seen them drive around. They just don't look understeery compared to a lot of cars in the GTP. So, yeah, that's painful for Grotch and Hasler. Like, it's kind of one of those things where they've done a really good qualifying, but if the race can't come together, that's out the window. I've seen Hasler and Grotch do really well in this series, but it might just be a round that's a bit wonky, and they've just got to get over it. But yeah, it's if they can deal with the understeer though, if we're going on, you know, a positive side, if they can deal with it, that could be really handy at the end of the race, because that fuel load comes out and the car's so oversteery, they've got to have something to counter the oversteer. So maybe this could work. It possibly could. I'm just going to correct myself as well. It was actually Hasler who was dropping to Whiting and Delaney, so I think Hasler actually copped the slowdown. Grotch is still in this though, but he is out of tow range at this point in time. So just to correct myself so we don't go off on a tangent that is actually incorrect. What I think's actually happened here I reckon they've actually set up the car to be better down the straight than the infield. And because it's not a car that's actually particularly good, better at one or the other, it's kind of I like to describe the Acura as it's the pure middle of Porsche compared to Cadillac. So like Cadillac's strong down the straight, Porsche's good in the corners. The Acura is kind of like, it's somewhat good at both, but it's not really outstanding at both. And I think now they've actually pushed the envelope to be better in one point of the track than the other. It's actually hindering them in the infield now because they've tried to get the pace down the straight where they actually probably would have been better just having a setup that felt good in both but not necessarily uber fast down the straight. I think that's what's actually hindering them at this point in time. It's almost trying to think which GTD car would be set up like that. Maybe a little bit like the Merc. The Merc's kind of the pure middle of the GTDs. It's kind of the midpoint of the BMW straight line speed.
The Ferrari.
Oh yeah,
I'd
the
probably
Ferrari
say
as well. Yeah.
Ferrari Beamer. I'd say that's probably the. Oh, pardon me. I'd say probably that's the in-between cars. I think the Merc's one of those Cadillacs where you put your foot down and you can feel the power. But yeah, I think it would be a setup thing at the moment. We've just seen Whiting get into slipstream range there. But then we've just seen him pull out. So I think the Cadillac's running F4 wing and Edwards got to slow down and that's going to hinder him. And Edwards going to go high and just drop down low after this slowdown. But that's Grotch in the lead. Oh, this is getting tight.
It is, mate. You said before that was it for Grotch, but all of a sudden it took one mistake from Edwards. And all of a sudden, Grotch is back in it. So they could be going to and fro here over the next half an hour of racing. Of course, we still have pit stops to come. And again, the understeer is hurting him. So maybe now the battle is Edwards has the betterment of the midfield. If he can put some pressure on Grotch here, Grotch could make a mistake. But you can't count out Michael Whiting in behind, who's just been kind of lurking and just kind of sneaking in at this point in time, being a little bit of a silent assassin and just trying to etch closer and closer and closer onto the back of them. Could be on here for an absolutely magnificent battle for P1 of this race across all three of the current podium sitters, although it will drag Delaney and Hasler up to the fight as well. We'll quickly head back to our GTDs as Adam Hughes is now on the back of Andrew Dyson. So there could be a nice little Porker versus Porker 1v1 here for P3 of this race. CXR versus DPR. Simrigs versus Palmerston Bakery entries. And one of them could get the benefit of this, or they could both crash and burn. Only time will tell if that's going to happen. I'm sure you would prefer that one of them would crash and burn because of your teammates' battle. But
no, not at all. But it's how to accuse me like that? I'm offended.
No, it's yeah. I think Hughesy at the moment, he's got good pace. We just saw him pull onto the back of Dyson, and now he's in that slipstream. He can really just sit there and save fuel. So yeah, should be interesting.
I'm just keeping you honest here, Connor. Like,
that's
all it's about. We got to keep ourselves honest.
Dyson's a good dude.
It doesn't matter what championship I call. If my drivers are in, I'm like, I still want them to win, but I'm going to call it fairly. But just know that I want them to win. But you still got to be fair with it at the end of the day. I mean, as we spoke about, prior to the broadcast. But I think as well though. But even as a teammate of myself, I would much rather have a fight for a championship, no matter how stressful it is. I'd rather my drivers have to fight for it and earn the win than be gifted it. I think that's a much more not respectable, but like it's a much more satisfying championship win when you've actually had to fight for it and really put your sweat and your tears into that battle. So I don't know, maybe
I think as a commentator, I was going to say as a commentator, you always want that, but as a team, as a driver, I remember doing championships way back in the day. I can feel the grace going through, but yeah, like doing championships, you just don't want anything to go wrong. Like you sit there, and it's almost like you sit there with a notepad and you go, right, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I want to happen. There's two that are very different. You've got to plan. Here's my pit stop. Here's my fuel, how much I'm taking, and then you spot it. I've got to spot it myself, so he tells me what to do in the race. And if that goes to plan, we're on. Everything works out. But safety car gets pulled out, everything goes out the window. Then you've got to go off instinct. So yeah, I think it's like for these guys, for the Vermeulen guys, it's just do what they're doing. And Grotch is coming in at the moment for a pit stop, early pit stop, I think. But it's coming in though. Could be a drive-through.
No, he is stopping in the lane, so there's been no penalty applied yet for anyone. So I reckon he's possibly just trying to get a bit of an undercut here over Edwards, but it is a long time to go on those tyres. Noticing how understeery the car is. What I think this is, he saw the traffic that was coming up, and he knew, right, I could actually get a jump here on these guys because I'm going to be able to come out. And that's it for Edwards. He runs it wide. Cochrane follows him in the background.
Whiting's taking the lead.
And Delaney's P2.
Here's Hasler. As a teammate, this is where you want to hold Edwards up just that tiny little bit more to give Grotch that gap. And I reckon Grotch is probably... I reckon he's gapped him now in this pit stop, and Edwards is not happy. You can see him shaking his car. Wasn't happy. So now he's going to have to be on the back of the tyre. But Whiting, though, pulling a huge gap there. So I think something's happened there prior. Unless that was a lot of time given up. But it might have been something else that happened. But yeah, Jake's going to have to find a way to get back up there somehow.
We have had an incident in the background involving Adam Simpson. We'll get it up on the screen for you now. Check out what's happened to him here in the fishy carts. He's come round through 1 and 2 up towards 3. Oh, has he run it too fast? Yeah, he has, and he's just looped it round.
Mid-speed, I reckon. We saw Whiting having a really low downforce, so I reckon he's just carried a bit too much low speed. And there's Jake, absolutely going around the outside of Ty with ease. Ty just getting absolute slapped by the crisscross car, and there goes Jake Edwards.
It's currently back to Grotch from Edwards. The gap, no, we don't want game, we want gap. Good job. Click on the wrong box, why don't you? The gap currently is 44 seconds up to the leader of this race. Edwards is 3 seconds back, so it's 41 seconds back to Grotch at the moment from Edwards. The reason I mention this is Grotch's pit lane travel time was 1 minute and 35 seconds. So that incident involving Edwards could have possibly hindered him so much in that moment there. That could have really hindered him off this. Now I know, well, 44-second gap. How's he only lost 44 seconds over 1 minute lane travel? A portion of that he is still moving, so he's not actually... It's kind of harder to really determine, especially around Daytona, because it is such a long pit lane. Like, it's long in itself in the actual pit lane, but the exit's also long as well. So he's probably also lost a little bit of time being in that traffic too. So it's going to be interesting to see what the strategy play is, Connor, and how this is now going to work in the benefit of Grotch and when these guys decide to come in as well.
We just saw Hassler and Ty just go side by side as well when we saw that in the background when we were following on Edwards. Edwards is in though. So here comes all the strategy. So we were talking about fuel with the GDDs. I don't think the GDPs are saving that much. It's pretty hard to save. They got rid of the clutch, but they can lift into corners. I know the LMP2, you do that, and you can save a lot of fuel doing that as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these guys have been saving. I could be wrong. I haven't driven the GDP around this track too much. But we'll see how it all hangs out. So here comes Grotch on the banking now, coming out of 4. And let's see what happens here. So
Edwards is still in the box. I reckon that cost him. He's out of the box now. He's coming out of the pits.
Grotch's
but
got him.
That little moment has cost him here because Grotch is going to come round, and he's not going to be too far behind him. But if he hadn't had that moment, he would have actually stayed out ahead of Grotch, I reckon.
I reckon Grotch has got Whiting too.
Yeah,
I reckon he's got him.
The undercut may have been an absolute masterstroke here from Brendan Grotch. Whiting's going to have to gap at an absolute rapid pace just to try and keep this gap up. Greg Leake is into the lane now for the GTD field as well. They've got a couple little battles just starting to form back there, including this one with Dyson Hughes and Ireland in behind. There goes Mr. Hasler around the outside of Dyson. There goes Mr. Delaney as well. But there you can see,
a penalty.
He did.
A slow down. So it looks like Ireland's just went straight around, and Hughesy's just been gapped by the 2 DPR cars, and that's going to suffer a little bit, but he's still in the slipstream, so he can pull back a little bit in this infield. He should be okay. But the Vermilion boys, they've pulled out 10 seconds, so those 2 Porsches up the front, they're doing well, and it looks like Dyson's just hanging on for P3, but Dyson's still having some good pace, so we saw him pull away from Hughesy there So there's definitely, Dyson's still got some pace under that car, so it'll be interesting to see if he's fuel saving massively because he knows Ben's got that slipstream to give him that fuel save. That's the big question. Up the inside, there's Whiting, I think that is.
Yeah,
so
it
there's
is.
that little pass.
So I think them working together is helping them a lot here. I think the factor that Dyson's been battling with Hughes has also hindered him as well. I think, would it have been smarter for him just to let Hughes go past, work with him to keep the gap close? Possibly, but I think that may have hindered him a little bit here comparatively to the Vermilion cars as they come through the bus stop. Once again, lap 15, 23 minutes into the session, so we are now past the halfway point of this race. We've already had a couple of GTPs come into the pits for their pit stop, those being both of the Frog Leap cars and also the CXR car of Jake Edwards. Josh King is out of the race. He's been out ever since lap 2, so he's the only non-finisher that we have at this point in time. Delaney's also in though, so this will give us a little bit of an idea of if he can actually stay out ahead of Hasler when Hasler comes round, or if the undercut has actually worked its magic once again for Frog Leap.
I was going to say, you know what this is reminding me of, Hamish, is Daytona 24-hour European split, red line. Just pushing the whole way through the track, not staying off that rear bumper of Lewis's car. It just reminds me of Redline doing their strategies at Daytona and winning it too. So good to see the boys are doing well out there, just pushing the cars along. And like I said, Ben's just saving heaps of fuel, and like Aaron said as well. So you can see Ben just backing up for the ladies and gentlemen. He's backing up a little bit, lifting, then braking a lot later to keep up with Lewis in the corners, but saving a gutload of fuel. So there's a lot into it when it comes to fuel saving. There's a lot of techniques, and I reckon they've nailed it on the technique. And Lewis is going to drop back a little bit, but he's still going to be in P2 after this whole thing with the pit stops.
Yeah, I think they've built up enough of a gap now that there is enough of a wiggle room for them to do this, and they've been able to do it whilst keeping pace as well. Last lap they did their fast lap of the race has been the exact same. They're both a 1:44.11. So even doing this, they've set the fastest lap together on track. So it just shows you the kind of pace that they have got working together and not battling, and how much this can actually benefit you, even if you're not doing it with a teammate. Do it with with a fellow competitor for the majority of the race. Work with them. Work to drag yourself up. It's the old mentality of NASCAR. You work with someone else, you both get the draft, and it drags you along and it helps bring you back into the battle. 11 seconds, it's pretty insurmountable at this point in time. But if a safety car comes out, all of a sudden, it's going to come down to Faulkner's fuel strategy and his fuel benefits that he's getting from this that is actually going to help him later in this race. Ryan Jones is into the pits for DPR. So he will now come out of, he was about 7 seconds off the back of Hughesy. Barber's also in, and so is Hodgkinson as well. But this battle here between Ireland, Dyson and Hughes has just started to spread a little bit as we get the majority of the GTD start to come into the pits now. We'll head back up though to the GTP field. Grotch is now just trying to keep Edwards off his tail. So even though he had the benefits of Edwards making a mistake, during the in-between period of their pit stops there, Connor, Edwards' benefits and advantages on the infield is actually doing him absolute wonders right now compared to the understeering froggy pig, we'll call the Acura, of Grotch at this stage in time. So, yeah. I mean, if Grotch finishes on the podium, I look forward to asking him why they may have gone the route of an understeery car and how they dealt with that during the race. But, yeah, it's interesting to see how these two kind of separate styles of setting up a car is maybe working to the benefit or to the detriment of one or more of the drivers. So Jamie Davis is in. We're coming out of P2. Grotch, we can't even say if he's provisional P1 because Whiting's still about 45 seconds up the road.
I think Whiting's pulled a massive gap because I think Grotch is covering sometimes in the corners just to keep Edwards behind. And if these guys keep battling a little bit, it builds such a gap for Whiting. Whiting doesn't even need to worry about anything. But about that understeery setup, it would just be Grotch taking off downforce, but not softening the front to get some more turn in it. And adjusting that pitch a little bit, maybe. I'm probably over-analysing that, but it's I think that's the big thing at the moment. But I mean, Grotch is still doing well. If he's running low downforce, it's being a bit of a understeery car. I think they're still doing okay with Edwards right behind doing Edward things. I guess being a champion of last season, I think it was.
Tyler Laney's just had an incident as well. He was out at turn 1. I reckon he's hooked the inside wall here off the back of this. He's come through. So he just turned it in way too tight. Oh no, he did turn it in too tight, but it was too early. And that actually then underweighted the car and then managed it to spin. So that's very interesting. But Whiting is in, Connor. So we're going to get our answers now on if the advantage has come to him. We're here with Grotch. He's just entered the bowl to come up towards the bus stop. So this is going to be interesting now.
If he's just hit the pit lane and they're still on the oval, I think Whiting has got an absolute masterstroke of a strategy. It's not even a strategy. He's just stayed out and went, oh, I'll just stay out and have clean air, burn that fuel off, and the car's going to be lighter, so I'm going to be faster and not cook the tyres as much, having a heavier car with more fuel in it. So Whiting's really done the right thing on, they're not going to take tyres, so Whiting's probably going to have better tyres out of this as well. So let's see Whiting. He's on the pit exit already. I think Whiting's got him by a huge margin. This is
going to be good enough for him. He's got it. I think he's got it. So they're going to come through. Cochran is just going to let him go. Whiting's going to retain the lead. It's going to be so close on exit, but he's got this, and he's got a good 1.2 second odd gap back to Grotch. So now it's going to have to come down to is Grotch faster over a lap than Michael Whiting. Whiting will have a similar amount of fuel in the car to them, but if he took tyres, he has much fresher tyres, as you said, and he's going to be better off come the end of this race. So I think there was the smarter move. You don't react to the undercut by coming in straight away. Go a bit longer, build up the gap. Their battles helped him out here a bit, and now he's come out of the pits back in P1.
That's a supercar strategy if I've ever seen one. I know Whiting's a big supercar lover, so that's a supercar thing. When someone pits, we all know that the tyres are very grippy, and you can't really do much about it. So you go 2 to 3 laps longer and just wait for them to fry the tyres, come out and fresh tyre, then run them down. So yeah, big supercar strategy, and he's done it well. So he's going to get held up a little bit. No, he doesn't. Goes around him very aggressively. I think he's lost time a little bit. Yeah, he's lost half a second there, so he's gonna have to try and find something out of the bag. And Grotch is right on the back now.
So we've got a nice little three-way dance going into the final 15 minutes of Daytona here tonight. It's on for all here. It's Whiting, Grotch, and Edwards. 1, 2, 3. 3 different teams in the battle for the lead. It's Fishy versus the Froggies versus Criss Cross Racing. Who is going to get the advantage here across this race? It's all 3 different types of cars across the podium. The car that's strongest down the straight in the Cadillac. The car that is kind of the midway point, the Acura, and then the car that is the strongest on the infield in the Porsche. Well, we couldn't have really asked for a better scenario here, Connor, because now our answer could be answered for us. Our question could be answered of which car is best. All 3 of them get to have a crack at each other at this point in time, and you couldn't really ask for a better 3 to represent each type of car on the podium at this point. Hasler's still a bit far off the battle, and Davis is a fair way back to even put a challenge in at this point onto them. The GTDs, they're spread out by quite a fair bit. Faulkner has actually managed to get past Lewis here. Has actually now gapped into about 3 seconds. So I think from his fuel saving, he's now going to be able to go a little bit longer. Maybe even a no stop if he's managed to save enough. And now Greathead's just going to start dropping a bit further back.
They might have done their pit stops, unless there's a mistake involved, but 3 seconds is a long way, so that's quite interesting.
I know that Hughesy's been in the pits. Have they done their stops? Let's check just quickly here. Oh, they have. We just completely missed it. We were too busy talking about the other battles on hand, but they have done their stops, and that's why he's now actually gained some time because he would have taken less fuel.
That's impressive. Like, he's gapped his teammate by 3 seconds, but Lewis is not fuel saving. We know that. Yeah. Like, he'd probably be fuel saving that tiny little bit, but he wouldn't be doing that much. I mean, it's more of like you said in the start of or the pre-start of this race, it was, you know, these teams will be coming in going, all right, who's on the top of the list for a championship? We're gonna say this is priority, and yeah, and that's what they've done. So the boys have done well here. Dyson is actually in 4th, so Hughesy's got a round as well. So yeah, there's a lot in play for Dyson at the moment. There's 2 cars in the middle of the battle between Dyson and Ben. So Dyson's gonna have to try and get in 3rd and get some points back.
Yeah, he doesn't really want to have to give up too much track position to Faulkner. Obviously, he'll still want to be, you know, on the podium and not giving up too many points in the back of this battle. So, you know, it'll also then give him the best chance to try and make up if those boys make a mistake somehow, if they got caught up in an incident. What could be questionable here is, though, so Hughesy hasn't actually raced all season. This is his first round. He may just let Dyson go on the podium and not want to have to get in his way and kind of ruin his chances at a championship. So there is that at play as well. I don't know if he'll do that or not.
If I know Hughesy, which I do, he's the man that gets on COD and yells at people all night. He's the type of person that likes to win. So I'd say getting a podium for Hughes would be a big thing. You know, we've seen him being very competitive in, you know, the last. How many times have I commentated for SRW? I remember starting 2020 or 2021 mid-season, and Hughesy was in the Porsche. So he's been doing it for a long time. And I think getting new pedals, that's going to extend that skill for Hughesy, and I think he'll take it as a win getting new pedals.
So let's head back up, though, to our battle for the lead of the GTP class. It's now Whiting versus Grotch versus Edwards. They're still within this battle. Hasler's just starting to etch up onto the back of them now as they come up towards the back of Callan Hodgkinson. I do believe it is just ahead of him. It is indeed Mr. Hodgkinson. So they will now come around him, down the bowl, up towards the bus stop, and we'll see who could get the benefits here of possibly any oncoming traffic up the road from them as well. We've got 10 minutes left of this session, ladies and gentlemen. 10 minutes left of this race when they cross the line. So I'd argue it's probably only going to be about maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 more laps, Connor, in the next 10 minutes. I mean, they're 1.5 lap times.
Yeah, I think you're on the money.
Yeah.
Probably 6.5 maybe.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to if they're going to cross the line right on 45 minutes or if they're going to cross the line with a couple of seconds to go. And then that'll give them the extra lap. Dougie Gowans has had an incident and he's been involved in quite a few. That's why he's already been off track. He's already had some issues. And that car is broken. That is uber broken. And if he's pulled this up for a tow, this could be a safety car coming for us here.
I reckon that's a safety car.
So Mark Cochran had already had an off track. I just want to see if he may have been involved with this as well. So he's had his off track. That was just him running it a little bit wide off the back of that corner. But then this was the grandpa's initial incident of him going off track. Oh, his car was already broken at this point. So where's he actually done it?
There's no steering in that car at all.
Yeah, it's not even giving me the incident that he's actually done this with as well. So, yeah, we can't even really.
Should we be nice and just say? Should we be nice and he's just understeered a little bit and you know, the walls just popped out of nowhere maybe?
I reckon what's happened is the iRacing track builders have just placed a wall in the middle of the track somewhere.
I reckon.
You know, they've just done it at the last minute. So what it is now is it will be a safety car. So all of a sudden, Connor, everything changes in this race. The whole landscape has changed off the back of that incident because now the entire field will get backed up onto each other. In fact, Brandon Grotch has dropped spots. Why has he dropped spots? I haven't even got an incident for him. Did he get a slowdown maybe? Because he's down about 10 or so seconds. Edwards has come in again.
Or something's happened.
Or is it fuel? It could be fuel.
It could be fuel. It could possibly be fuel. Grotch will come back past. Whiting is still in the lead. He is now up behind the safety car.
Or does the GDP need to do a two-stopper?
They haven't had to at any point this season. They haven't had to do two.
That's interesting.
They've only ever had to do one.
Yeah, okay. I was trying to think because I was like, they pitted on lap 17. Oh, everyone's happening to check up here. Just saw an absolute barrel of cars coming down there. They're all checked out. But, yeah. Could be just a fuel usage, maybe? Using too much?
I don't know. He's still in. And now he's out once again. How long was the stop? It was 23 seconds. So he's taken almost as much fuel as a regular pit stop. I wonder why. That's so weird that he's had to do that.
It could... maybe it could be a double stop and these guys are risking it. It could be. I don't know. But
I don't even know. I haven't even got fuel numbers from them. See, and I don't understand why it would be a double stop. I mean, it's a 45-minute race. If it was an hour, then yes, I'd understand. You'd push it out to 2 stops, but it's 45 minutes. Like,
have they capped the fuel in these cuts?
They have to keep them to 1 stop every 45 minutes since the GTDs can go an hour on a regular fuel tank, and the GTPs can go 45 minutes on a regular fuel tank. So they have capped them, so they have to do a pit stop. But I don't know. Maybe that's weird. That's so interesting why he would do that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even have an answer for it, to be honest with you. But
yeah. Unless he's... hang on. This could be the master straight. I wonder if he's just went in and went, bugger it. My tyres are shot. I need new tyres. If I get new tyres, I'm not going to drop that far down. Get new tyres and see how much more grip I've got and just wing it. Maybe.
Maybe, but why would you give up a podium position when everyone's tyres are just as old as yours other than Whiting's?
Trying to find an advantage at some point. Or something, maybe. I don't know.
Like,
I'm just running things off my head.
Yeah, but he's going to have like 3 or 4 minutes of running. Like, why would you try and he's going to be under safety car, so the tyres are going to be cold anyway. So I understand why you're trying to figure out this meaning, but I can't even come to grips why you would stop just for tyres. Like, at this point, it's
26 seconds would be tyres. That would be tyres.
Yeah,
surely.
Stefan's saying he took tyres, so maybe this is a bit of a dice roll from him of taking tyres and just trying to push on. And although he will have the advantage on the infield with fresher tyres.
Hang on, if Stefan is in his ear, he is very good at that car. So
yeah,
I'm not going to say anything until it goes green and Jake gets a bit of tyre heat, and then we'll see what happens. Because I mean, there's not long to go, but he does have to get around other people though. That's the other thing as well.
He does. So now what it's going to come down to as well is Faulkner and Greathead have suddenly lost their massive advantage that they had over Hughes and Dyson. Faulkner did the battle of, save the fuel, get yourself back in the lead. But now they're going to be under immense pressure from Hughesy, Dyson, Ireland, and Jones in behind. And it's going to now lead to them, and plus they're also going to have to deal with Dougie Gowan's coming past them at some point, being on the back of the field. Oh, this is going to be interesting. It looks like we're going to go one more lap of safety car. We may only have 1 or 2 more laps of this race left. Oh no, safety car's pulled away, so we're going green. Oh, the safety car pulled away very late there.
It was very late. Whiting with the lead though, and he's off into turn 1. Good launch too. Wow, great launch. Let's see the GDPs go at it as well. And the GDDs. The GDDs are away as well. We just saw Faulkner pull away as well. Whiting with a great launch. He's pulled almost a second out of it already. Ben getting a good lead as well. So this is interesting. Oh, I just saw Luke Crum run wide as well in the background there. And Edwards hasn't really went through yet with those fresh tyres. But I was going to say, those fresh tyres could be a big factor though. Like, if it works here, it could be a big factor. But you see that we've only got 4 minutes, so he's got to make quick work. They're getting held up here. This is not what Edwards wants at all.
Yeah, he can't be caught up by a cork in a bottleneck situation. He needs to try and get this done as fast as possible.
I think he is though.
If he's going to have any semblance of possibilities here of challenging for that win, he needs to try and get around them as quickly as possible. He's right on the back now of Luke Crum. Is he going to go for it into the bus stop? Full send, full glory for Jake Edwards, or will he wait up into turn 1? He's going to wait. He's going to be patient. He's going to be smart about it. There's been a couple of cars off in the background. There's Mark Cochran, namely, and I believe Callan Hodgson was also off. But we're going to head back up the front. Hasler gets past Grotch. Is Grotch got another slowdown? Has he got another slowdown?
I think he's already served it. I think he might be okay. No, still serving it. Still serving it. Serving it. And there's Delaney. Two wide into turn 1 with Davis. Davis on the outside, still trying to get a bit of grip on the outside. It keeps it. Davis is going to bolt it up the inside, and he does. And parks it on the apex. That's what you want to do. And Davis is going to run it off the exit, and that's a job done from Davis. And meanwhile, Whiting's pulled away even more. This is almost Whiting's race to lose at this point. We can see Jake Edwards still. Oh, Luke Crubb up the inside of Adam there. Great dive bomb. Still half there. Too wide onto the banking. Oh, still too wide. Still there. Crumbs on the outside, still trying to find some more grip. You can see him there touch the barriers there. Wobbles on the back straight. And they're still too wide. Edwards is still getting bottlenecked massively. So Edwards is going to have to do something here. Does he send it up the inside? I don't think he will. Does he think about it though? He does. Backs out of it. Luke Crum on the inside. Crum's probably going to hit Adam. Adam gets knocked there. Crum on the inside taking the lead. Edwards on the top. Edwards is going to have to back out and bring it back in. What a great battle that was.
Oh, it's and I tell you what, we're going to have 1 lap to go here, Connor. I think it was a little bit of a misplay to take those tyres because all of a sudden he's out of contention. Grotch has now lost, he's swapping, changing positions here. He's now back with these boys as well. Still battling it out. It's a little 5-way dance here for P3 of this race. Who's going to get the advantage? Final lap of proceedings here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Lap 27 of 44.5 minutes into our 45-minute affair. This is not the only battle that's happening, though. We still have a battle for GTD affairs as well. Faulkner with great head alongside, taking on Adam Hughes here for the lead of this race. It may be all done and dusted, though, for Vermilion, with them trying to take the win here as Hughesy. That's a 1v2 situation, so it's going to be tough for him here. Lewis is going to try and hold him up, it seems, as they come through turn 1 once again. Just try, if he can break past him, he'll at least have an effort at Ben, but it's going to be really tough for him to do that, as I mentioned. We'll head back up to the GTP field. It's Davis on the back of Grotch. He's going to have one final chance into the bus stop, and if he can get this done, it's going to be one hell of an effort from him. He's done incredibly well this season in the supercar.
Yeah, he's had a great championship, and Davis has got to slow down. That's it.
Oh, there goes Delaney as well.
Delaney's around. There goes Simpson and Edwards. So Edwards is up another spot. Does he? Last lap. No, checkered.
It's checkered. That's it. And it's Whiting over the line in P1 here tonight to Hasler. And then Brandon Grotch. It's, oh my God, an absolute drag race with Davis. He only just got in. Oh,
5,000.
Wow, that is possibly the closest finish we've ever had in IMSA. Edwards went for new tyres. He rolled the dice. Unfortunately, it came up dunces for him. Simpson manages to get it up in the top 6. Crummy did well to keep it in 7th. Delaney lost out there. Loses the rear wing off the back of this as well. Anderson did fairly well for P9. Faulkner, though, they're going to come down to the line. It's going to be Vermilion 1-2 once again. Faulkner's going to get P1 to Greathead in P2. Hughesy just unable to make a challenge for it in the end. Dyson, though, gets it past his teammate Chris Island in the end for P4 to continue that run of challenges. Then it's Jones in behind them, and then Greggy Barber. Top 7 cars in the GTD field were Porsches, and there's only one Ferrari in the top 10, that being Benjamin Brook, although when you've got 94% of the field in GTD in Porsches, I'd be surprised if the majority of the top 10 wasn't made up of them. But wow, what a run to the end it was. Unfortunately, if we had another maybe 5 or 10 minutes there, Connor, we could have had something incredibly special from Edwards being able to put a jump in there with his fresher tyres, but in the end, it just wasn't able to happen for him.
Yeah, I think that 100%. Like, he tried something different, and I respect him going for something different. I really do, because it's like, right, this is my challenges. I've either got to get it past Whiting or Grotch, and, you know, the challenge of that was so hard for him because he had all the downforce in the world. But the moment he got on that oval, it was Gornsky. So he had to find something to throw in the bag and go, right, this is just what I've got to do. And yeah, I mean, good strategy call from, if it was another hour maybe, I think that would have been huge, but for 5 minutes, it's not going to work. But Whiting gets on top, Hasler, and then Grotch. So the two frog leaps doing well again.
Yeah, they once again show that they are the talk of the town when it comes to GTP class racing here in SRW. It was, well, it's been their championship so far, as it has been for Vermilion down in GTD land as well. We'll bring up our provisional results now for both the classes, starting it out with the GTPs. Michael Whiting will take home P1 here tonight ahead of Scotty Hasler and Brandon Grotch on the podium with him. So then Jamie Davis, Jake Edwards and Adam Simpson making up the top 6 in behind, with Luke Crum and Ty Delaney in P7 and P8. Then is Brad Anderson and Dougie Gowns making up the top 10. Josh King was 25 laps down, and Keegan Colbell never got going in the end. Over to our GTD field, it was Ben Faulkner and Lewis Greathead of Vermilion Motorsports P1 and 2 for those boys once again, 3 weeks in a row, ahead of Adam Hughes in P3. Andrew Dyson out of P4 ahead of his two teammates, Chris Ireland and Ryan Jones in P5 and P6, with Greg Barber and Benjamin Brook in behind for P7 and P8. Callan Hodgson and Mark Cochran will then make up the top 10, with Greggy Johnston and Greg Leake making up the rest of the field. So it'll be good to speak to our podium finishers here tonight across both of the classes. They've all now pulled up and doing a little bit of a burnout there on the start-finish line for us. But, well, what one hell of a race it was. That safety car came maybe just 5 minutes too late there, Connor, because it meant that the whole field got compressed just kind of at the wrong time, and the dice rolls really came, again, 5 minutes too late on it.
Yeah, I think, like I said about Edwards, like, he threw the dice.
If it worked, it was going to work well. But if it wasn't going to work, you saw the outcome. And, yeah, I think for all the GT guys, it was more, right, just drive to the end. Don't really make a mistake for the Vermilion boys. And I think for Husey and Dyson, I think Husey was just sit on the back, you know, keep that friendship good. And then for Dyson, it was try and get on the back of Husey and maybe make an opportunity. Then we saw Christopher Ireland go for a move, then Dyson had to deal with that. So, I mean, that's that. And, yeah, it was great commentating with you.
Yeah, mate, it was great to have you on the show here tonight. We will get our podium finishers in here in just a moment's time. We're just setting everything up, so we are ready to talk to them at the right moment in time when we need to. Just gonna be able to scroll back here and find everything that I need. Hell, we'll go for this one here. This is not going to be the right one that we need, but it's just so we have a good point in the race to go to. Head back here to Adam Hughes, because we'll drag him in first here tonight. Being that he finished in P3 for the GTD class, we'll drag him in now. Mr. Hughes, your return to GT racing has already started off on the right foot by getting yourself back up on a podium and somewhat bringing a fight here to these young guns out of Vermilion.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it's been a minute, hasn't it? Or a hot minute, rather.
Well, I mean, it's good to have you back out there, mate. How are you feeling back out in the car? Obviously, back out racing amongst these boys, and are you planning on racing the rest of the season? And how are you planning on going into next season as well?
I assume I can make the rest of the season provided work allows me, and my pedals don't bloody crap the bed, and I'm left without any pedals for 2.5 months. So yeah, I should be right to do the rest of the season. I came into the race tonight not remembering how Daytona went left and right. So that was sort of interesting. But that was good. That was a good race. Safety car made it interesting at the end. Sort of just lost touch with with Benny and with Lewis at the start, just because sort of having a fight through the pack and battling with other people, and they sort of just checked out, and I just consolidated third. So it's not much I could really do during the race. It was quite boring for me, actually.
Well, I mean, it's, the safety car kind of came out, we mentioned it, about 5 minutes too late for anyone to really bring a challenge back up towards the front, and they gave us really 4 minutes of running. So, kind of going forward, obviously, you're not really in this championship battle at this point in time. Is it just getting used to the car once again, getting up to speed, getting those laps in, and then just kind of prepping yourself to have a proper crack at this championship next season?
Yeah, pretty much. Just keep dialing in the new pedals and make sure I'm happy with them and how they operate. And obviously, if I can get a win, I'll certainly fight for it. But I'm not going to try and make an effort and accidentally bin someone that's in the championship. So I'll keep it somewhat tame and sort of get out of people's ways if it's not on, it's not on sort of thing. So just have fun, take a win if I can, and then just see what I can do next season.
Very good, mate. Well, let us know who's giving you and CXR the support out there, and anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well.
Obviously, you guys for tonight. Obviously, RC, all the other guys in GD3 and GDP for making it relatively safe tonight. Wasn't too much death, so to speak. Just thank obviously Stefan and CXR boys for the last few weeks and months. Pumps and Bakery, Shunts, Poolmaster Bayside, E-Boards, Doom Designs, and I'm missing another one. I cannot remember for the life of me. Whitey's Pies, and there was another one as well on top of that. I cannot remember it. So, it's been a hot minute.
That's all right, mate. And just quickly as well, have you got any word from Jake based on, we saw him come late in and take tyres under that safety car. Have you got anything off him or Stefan based on that thought process of making that decision?
He got new tyres just because he kept locking the fronts during that first stint before the safety car came out. So he thought he'd throw a new set of boots on and maybe a bit of a pace advantage, but I don't think it paid out for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think, again, if the safety car had come out 5 minutes a little bit earlier, then he would have been all right. But I think it's just that little bit too late to try and put that challenge in with fresh tyres. But thanks for coming to chat to us regardless, though, Adam. Congratulations once again on P3, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Well, we'll bring your boys in now, Connor. Try and keep yourself contained, please.
I'll be fine, mate. I'm just eating my food. It's all good.
That's all right. So we'll drag them in. We'll have a quick chat to them as well. Mr. Greathead and Mr. Faulkner. 3 rounds in a row. 3 P1-2s for you boys. Do you want to give everyone else an opportunity to get P1 and 2 at some point this season, possibly?
No. Nah. I've got P2 locked in there. I've had 4 races in a row now or something, or 3 or 4, whatever it is at P2. So I think 2 is my favourite number.
Maybe you should change it for next season.
Nah. I'll just take the 0 out and kick your number off.
Nah. No. That's locked away in a cupboard somewhere. But we saw the fuel strategy from you boys tonight, and even with the safety car, you weren't really hindered by anything coming into it. And I think, the battle in behind you kind of, it helped you guys out build that gap whilst also maintaining a good lap pace as well. I spoke to Connor at length about this being your strategy here tonight, saving the fuel for Ben, so he had a bit of an advantage in the pits. If that safety car come out 5 minutes early, do you think you maybe would have been hindered a little bit more than what you were in the end, even though you were still able to come home 1-2? Or do you think you still would have been all right off the back of it as well?
I think we would have been all right. I think the pace was definitely there tonight. I think it's both one of our sort of stronger tracks. So it would have made it interesting, but still pretty confident that we would have come home 1-2.
So, obviously Nürburgring next week, we've spoken about it a little bit at length, possibility of rain happening as well. So first thing is, are you boys going to join us at Le Mans tomorrow night for rain? And then also, if there is rain next week out at Nürburgring, how are you going to tackle, not only tackling the giant of Nürburgring, but tackling it whilst holding an umbrella as well?
Well, I know me and Lewis and a lot of the other Vermilion boys have already done quite a bit of testing in the rain. We've got it pretty much set and ready to go. I think we're all pretty good with it at the moment. It might actually work it might work in my favour. Lewis, I think, is pretty good in the rain as well at the moment. So we're actually pretty keen for it. If I'm available, I'll jump in tomorrow. But I have to see. I have to do some practice for a league race, so I'll see. Should be good fun if I can.
So obviously you're still putting in this challenge for the championship, Ben. What is the strategy the same as it is now for the next 3 weeks coming up? Is it work with Lewis to help keep you up ahead of those DPR cars, namely Dyson, and just try and keep that lead as consistent as possible, or will you be willing to let the foot off the pedal if your lead starts to become quite insurmountable at some point as well?
Yeah, if I have to try and work some more points from last round. That was a bit of a pain, but it's what it is. It just drops around. But yeah, if I get far enough in the lead for points wise, I'll definitely give Lewis the top step and try and get a 1-2 in the championship as well.
Well, Lewis, how are you feeling going into next season after getting about half a season under your belt at this point? Obviously, you came in a little bit later than the rest of the field. How are you feeling going into next season, knowing that if you and Ben start the season, you're actually going to end up probably battling for the championship if you have finishes like this? And how's that then going to kind of change some strategies up a little bit in amongst the team?
I think at the end of the day, we'll always just play it smart. I think it'll be if we're on like such close equal points when it's coming into like the last race, then yeah, we'll have it out with each other. But otherwise, then we're not going to do anything stupid just to bring home that 1-2.
Very good. Well, I'm not sure. I can't remember which one of you's shouted out your sponsors last week, but I suppose let us know who's giving you guys and Vermilion Motorsports the support out there. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well?
Yeah, I'll do it. So of course, from all the boys of Vermilion Motorsports, Berlin Motor Group, Dr. Epoxy, Race Lab Overlays, Burb Designs, Supernova Motorsports, Moser Racing, Hymo Setups, Whitey's Pies, Make Pies Great Again, and yeah, Up the Wires. Oh, and also shout out to Team Redline for their bump draft in Strats.
Yeah, Connor mentioned that one as well. That he mentioned that strategy too. But great job tonight, boys. Best of luck out at Nürburgring and for the rest of the season. And if we see you tomorrow night for the rain action out at Le Mans, best of luck out there as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, boys. Well, we can now move on to our GTP class as well, namely another double up of the same team from Vermilion. We go into the Frog Leap boys of Brandon Grotch and Scotty Hasler. We'll just get their info set up on screen. And then we can bring them in as well. So we'll drag them down for us here. Oh no, Michael Whiting left. Well, unfortunately, Michael Whiting has left us anyway. I was going to chat to him after you boys, but apparently he doesn't have all the time in the world. So now we get to have a good old chat about Daytona and racing what seemed to be some very understeery Acuras out there. What was the thought? Was that a setup issue, or was it the tyres giving way? At least from our end, it seemed like a little bit of understeer issue, or were you guys maybe just pushing a little bit too hard?
Yeah, it was a little bit tricky out there. They've changed the gear stack on the Acura for week 13, so that was giving us a little bit of trouble. It was really short on the straights. We were topping out, but then even in the infield, your engine braking and all that kind of thing was a little bit tricky. So that was a bit of an added complication tonight. But particularly the caddy just seemed to be pretty strong in the turn in and had a tenth or two on us in the infield.
So obviously, Brandon, we saw you cop a bit of a slowdown at one point through the bus stop, and you lost the lead to Jake, and then he made a mistake in between the pit stop period of yourself and him. When you came past, noticed he was in behind you. What was the mindset then going on past that of just trying to keep him behind? Obviously, he had the advantage on the infield, but what was your thoughts when you came past the pit exit and he was suddenly in behind you?
Well, I kind of figured I'd be ahead of him because Scott told me he'd had an incident with a GT. But at that stage, I was actually trying to make sure I'd make it home because I was 50-50 on my fuel. So I was actually saving a little bit just to try and make it a bit easier. I wasn't too concerned about him going past or anything.
So, obviously, championship-wise going forward, we've got Nürburgring next week, then we go to Sebring, then we go to Spa. What do what's your guys' mindsets going into these next couple of weeks? Obviously, Troy's leading the championship at this point in time. You're only 83 points off the back of him, though, Brandon. And with him copping a 0 here tonight, it'll mean that you will be leading the championship. And I believe, Scott, you will be P2, seeing as Mez wasn't here either. So you'll be, up the pointy end of the championship come the end of this season. And if Tidalani's even up there too, possibly. So there could be a nice little 5-way battle here for this title going forward, depending on who's out there over the next 3 rounds and stuff like that. So how are you both feeling in terms of coming into Nürburgring, which could be incredibly dangerous, coming into Sebring, where you'll probably get a lot of people with some experience there after the 12-hour, and then ending it out at Spa as well?
I actually have a lot of confidence going into Nords. I've all the fishes I've done there, I always finish really well. I was always very quick. Might not have the same speed as Scott. For some reason, he's just slightly quicker there. But yeah, the championship is heating up. I think I've just checked. I'm about 20 points ahead of Troy, so it's very tight. But there's potential I may not be around for Sebring. So see how that plays out. Hopefully I can make it, but it'll be very late to me getting there, I reckon.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see how not only Nürburgring goes, how Sebring goes, but how Spa goes as well. Let us know who's giving you the support out there, guys, and anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well.
I haven't got the sponsors up. I got it.
Yeah. You got it?
I'd like to give a big thank you to all of our sponsors of Frog Leap Juiced Racing, that being Juice Energy, simrings.com, Racecraft Simulations, Sudspeed Gloves, and the Petrol Company. And a big shout out to all the fellas. A few of them have dropped off from this series over the past few weeks. Don't know where Dodzy was this week. He just didn't show. He's slacking. But thank you to everyone in the team.
Yep. Apparently he was playing footy. I reckon you boys might need to go do his ACL or something, just so he can come racing more often.
Well, as someone who doesn't have an ACL at this point in time, I'll spare him the pain.
Oh well, at least you're caring in times of his lack of commitment to being in the race with the boys. But thanks for coming to chat to us, nonetheless, guys. Best of luck next week out at Nords, and will we see you tomorrow night for the rain as well?
Potentially, we'll see how I go. I've got a few friends want me to watch the footy, so.
Oh, okay. See how it is. All right. Well, best of luck next time out, guys. Congratulations once again on P2 and 3 here tonight. And I look forward to see how Nürburgring goes next week.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, fellas.
Well, Mr. Whiting, we saw you leave before. We thought maybe you weren't actually coming to have a chat to us and just being rude, but no,
you've by race control.
Oh, okay, I see. That's fine then. But yeah, kind of a bit of a silent assassin out there tonight. You snuck your way up there. You managed to not straight away, react to the undercut potential by Grotch. Went a bit longer, and then use that to your advantage of him getting into a battle with Edwards and being in traffic, and managed to come out back in P1. We even though we had a safety car, you managed to still break away in the end and take what maybe was somewhat of an unexpected win, but a good one nonetheless.
Yeah, cheers. Look, the set felt pretty good. I had a pretty good quality lap in the practice session, but couldn't quite put it back together in the qualifying session. Race set felt good. A couple of little incidents through the race and picked up a couple of spots. And I mean, with the pitch strategy, it was literally just run it long. The car's faster when it's got no fuel in it anyway. And the tyres hold in, so just run it till it's empty, fill it up and see where we came out, and managed to get a good restart on the safety car as well. So that was pretty good. I mean, slowdowns were a big thing through the bus stop tonight for some of the guys. Probably wouldn't have been where I was if they didn't have those. So, I mean, but still good race, I'll take it.
So how did you go kind of tackling the Cadillac here? Obviously, during the 24-hour, the Caddy and the Porsche were kind of the polar opposites, but they were both strong, being the Porsche was strong in the midfield and the infield portion, where the Caddy was stronger down the straights. Obviously, this is a sprint round tonight. You can be a little bit more aggressive with the car choice. Was that kind of the mindset of, well, I can be aggressive and maybe I want to save my car change for later in the season? Or was it kind of like, I'm comfortable in it, I just want to stay in it at this point?
No, I love the caddy. Sounds amazing. Even if it's slow, you're still going to sound good doing it, so you may as well just stick with it. And the Acura's got a bit of lag. It's better into the corners and stuff, but that initial slow speed takeoff, the caddy will beat it every day of the week.
That's the VTEC kicking in. That's what it is. Well, obviously, Nürburgring next week could be quite an interesting race, especially if we get some rain happening as well. What are your thoughts going into what could be possibly one of the more painful races if you get into some incidents?
I think just finishing is going to be a win.
Yeah, I think that might be the case as well. So obviously we've got our rain race coming this Saturday night at Le Mans. Will you be joining us out on track for some dry to wet running?
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, love Le Mans.
Very good. Well, let us know who's giving you support out there, mate. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well? And once again, congratulations on your victory here tonight.
Yeah, big shout out to Adam Simpson and Ty Delaney tonight. They had a bit of a rough race. All the boys back at Fishy Motorsports, of course. West End Motor Group, DC Shades, Battery Warehouse, Ellie Beach, and obviously all the guys that help us out with all the bits and pieces we do at the team. So
you showed up, Ty, once again. I mentioned it to him when he was on the podium on Sunday that he went through every single West End Motor Group business. He said West End and then went through every single car out. I'm like, well, surely Mr. McKnight would just let you get away with just saying West End Motor Group. But that's twice now. That's twice now that the Fishy boys have just said West End instead of all of them. So maybe the young guppy can learn from it. But congratulations once again, Michael. Best luck next time out on track, and thanks for coming over to chat to us here tonight.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, mate. You too.
You too, Pat.
Well, Connor, you came back into the box here tonight with us for IMSA. Had a little bit of action out there, some really, really good battles happening. Daytona turned it on for us a little bit, but I think next week we could be on for an absolute barn burner come the Nordschleifer.
Yeah, we'll see if I'm back in the box. I probably won't be. I'll be probably doing Logitech prep or something, God knows what. But yeah, no, it was an awesome night. But yeah, it was a good call tonight. It looked like everyone had their race face on tonight. Everyone was really prepared for that 45-minute race. Everyone had their fuel strategies in line. We saw a different strategy right at the end with Jake, and then obviously with the GDDs, it was almost a boring night for the Vermilion boys, and for the DPR boys, it's one of those nights that probably in the Nürburgring they'll come back with more oomph, and it should be a good battle for the end of the season for those guys.
Well, I think next week is going to be a make or break race for some of those drivers out there. It's really going to come down to how consistent and clean can you be. That's going to be the test of the consistency. I've mentioned it all season, no matter who's been in the booth with me here on Friday nights, that the consistency is key. And next week is going to be the real test for that. The Nürburgring is difficult as it is in one class of car, or in one class of car, a single class race. When you got multiple classes and, will the GTPs pass the GTTs at any point? I don't know. I've never seen a multi-class race with top-class prototype with top-class sports cars as well, going head-to-head and going around there for 45 minutes. So it could be very, very interesting to see. I'm so looking forward to it, though, especially if we somehow get rain there, which I don't think is going to be a good idea if we do, because we may end up seeing the race red flagged, but it's going to be a good one nonetheless. But, ladies and gentlemen, that will bring an end to our broadcast here tonight for Sim Racing World TV. This has been the Warren & Brown Tools IMSA Shadow Series. A big shout out goes to all of our series sponsors: Warren & Brown Tools, Shannon's Insurance, Motorsport Australia, DSL Rail Services, NeuroPower, Grim Industries, and Shunt Scenery. Thank you for supporting the series, and thank you for supporting the league as well. And if you haven't already, guys, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well, and the bell icon so you are notified anytime we go racing across our 6 nights of content that we bring you on a weekly basis for our 9-round season, including the Tuesday night Warren & Brown V8 Supercars Series, the Wednesday night Shannon's Insurance Formula 3 Nationals, the Thursday night Shannon's Insurance Toyota GR86 Nationals, which is also a Motorsport Australia official series. The Friday night IMSA Shadow Series brought to you by Warren & Brown Tools. The Sunday night Warren & Brown Tools V8 Supercars Pro-Am. And rounding out our racing week, our Motorsport Australia Formula V Nationals, which is also a Motorsport Australia official series. But for myself and Connor Nixon alongside me, this has been round number 6 of the Warren & Brown Tools IMSA Shadow Series Season 1 of 2024 around Daytona International Speedway. We'll see you guys tomorrow night for Super Circus Saturday. 3 races, rain in all. It's going to be an absolute scorcher. Well, at least a Super Circus scorcher. We'll see you then. And until then, bye for now.
Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to slip on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Bruce Tanak and Jamie Dyke just absolutely